I helped my cousin get hired. Later, he boasted, I got this job thanks to experience, not connections. The next day, I reported his major error I'd previously fixed. Now he's demoted and works under me at a company party. I overheard my cousin, whom I helped get hired, tell colleagues, I got this job thanks to my experience, not connections. I stayed silent. The next day, I sent management a report about a major error in his latest project, which I'd previously fixed quietly. A week later, he was called in for a serious talk. Why didn't you help me like usual? He asked after. I decided to let your experience speak for itself without connections, I said. He was demoted and now works directly under me. Amazing how quickly people value help when they lose it. So there I was, standing in the corner of our company's annual summer bash, red Solo cup in hand, when I overheard my cousin Tyler bragging to a group of wide-eyed interns. The music was pumping, someone had already knocked over the cheese tray, and I was just trying to enjoy my watered-down Bud Light when his voice cut through the noise. Yeah, I mean, some people might think I got this sweet gig because of connections or whatever, but nah, pure skill and experience, baby. No shortcuts here, he said with that smug little laugh of his. I nearly choked on my drink. This dude was seriously out here taking full credit when I was the one who'd gone to bat for him 3 months ago. I'd put my reputation on the line to convince my boss that Tyler would be perfect for our team. I'd coached him through the interview process, gave him inside tips on what projects to highlight, and even helped spruce up his resume. Like I'd practically gift-wrapped this job for him. And that wasn't even the half of it. Since he started, I'd been low-key saving his butt weekly. Just last Tuesday, I'd spotted a major error in his quarterly report, one that would have made him look like a total amateur, and fixed it before anyone else noticed. No fuss, no drama. I didn't even tell him about it because I didn't want to make him feel bad. That's what family does, right? But there he was, acting like he was God's gift to tech consulting. The audacity was next level. For a hot second, I thought about marching over there and calling him out, but instead I just sipped my drink and watched him work the room. Something inside me shifted. I felt that slow burn of anger turn into something colder, more calculated. If Tyler wanted to succeed on his experience alone without any connections, well, who was I to stand in his way? The next morning, I rolled into the office early, cracked open a Monster, and fired off an email to our department head, Carson. Simple, professional, straight to the point. I detailed the significant error in Tyler's latest project proposal, the one I'd quietly fixed last week, and attached both the original and corrected versions. I made sure to mention that I hadn't informed Tyler of my corrections yet, as I thought it would be a good learning opportunity for him to receive feedback through proper channels. Then I sat back in my ergonomic chair, put my Nikes up on my desk, and waited for the show to start. It didn't take long. Carson was big on accountability. By noon, Tyler was called into a meeting with both Carson and Melanie from HR. I could see them through the glass walls of the conference room, Carson gesturing at his laptop screen, Tyler's shoulders gradually slumping, Melanie taking notes, with her trademark poker face. I almost felt bad. Almost. When Tyler emerged an hour later, he looked like someone had let the air out of him. He headed straight for the break room, and I followed a few minutes later, finding him aggressively stirring sugar into his coffee like it had personally wronged him. Rough meeting? I asked, keeping my voice neutral as I reached for a K-cup. Tyler glanced around to make sure we were alone. They tore me a new one over that Miller proposal. Said the original draft I submitted had calculations that would have cost the company thousands if it had gone through. He lowered his voice. The thing is, I could have sworn I fixed those numbers. I don't know what happened. I shrugged, watching the Keurig do its thing. That's weird. Yeah, and now they're putting me on some kind of improvement plan. He ran a hand through his hair. Carson said he was surprised because he thought I was more experienced than that. Wild, I said, grabbing my coffee. But hey, like you said, at the party, you got this job because of your experience, not connections. I'm sure you'll figure it out. The look on his face was priceless, like he just connected some very uncomfortable dots. Wait, he said. Have you been fixing my stuff? I took a long sip of my coffee. Gotta run. I've got a meeting in 5. For the next week, I stayed in my lane. No more silent saves, no more behind-the-scenes fixes. Tyler was on his own, and it showed. By Wednesday, he'd missed 2 deadlines and submitted another report with glaring inconsistencies. Carson was not happy. Update. Y'all, the office drama is getting intense. My cousin keeps giving me these wounded puppy dog looks across the bullpen, but I'm standing firm. He made his bed when he dismissed my help publicly. Should I feel guilty for stepping back, or was this lesson long overdue? The team meeting tomorrow is going to be awkward AF. Tyler has to present his latest project, and rumor has it Carson is bringing the big bosses. Would you sit back and watch, or throw him a lifeline? Friday afternoon, I was packing up to head out for the weekend when Tyler appeared at my desk, looking like he'd been through the ringer. Got a sec? He asked, his voice uncharacteristically quiet. I nodded, and he pulled up a chair. I just had another meeting with Carson and Melanie, he said, staring at his hands. It didn't go well. That's tough, I replied, closing my laptop. They're moving me to junior associate, he continued. Effective Monday. Junior associate was 2 levels below his current position. Ouch. And guess who my new direct supervisor is? He looked up at me with a mix of embarrassment and resentment. I raised my eyebrows. No way. Yep, you. He let out a hollow laugh. The irony isn't lost on me. We sat in silence for a moment, the office gradually emptying around us as people headed out for happy hour at O'Malley's down the street. Why didn't you help me? He finally asked. You've been fixing my mistakes all along, right? Why'd you suddenly stop? I leaned back in my chair. Remember at the company party when you told everyone you got this job because of your experience, not connections? His face flushed. I was just what? Trying to impress people by dismissing everything I did to help you get here? By pretending you did it all on your own? He had the decency to look ashamed. I didn't think you'd hear that. Whether I heard it or not isn't the point, Tyler. The point is that it wasn't true. And it was pretty crappy to say after everything I've done. So this was what? Revenge? I shook my head. Nah, man. This was me deciding to let your experience speak for itself, without any connections, just like you wanted. He winced. I really screwed up, didn't I? The job or our relationship? Both, I guess. I started gathering my things. Look, Tyler, you're family, and you're actually pretty good at what you do when you take the time to double-check your work. But you need to stop taking shortcuts and expecting other people to clean up after you. I know, he said, and I'm sorry for what I said and for taking you for granted. It's not just about me, I told him. In this business, nobody succeeds completely on their own. We all need help sometimes. The difference is whether you acknowledge it or pretend you're some self-made genius. He nodded slowly. So, what happens now? Are you really going to be my boss? Looks like it, I said, standing up. And just so you know, I'm not going to make your life hell or anything, but I'm also not going to do your work for you. You want to climb back up? You're going to have to earn it. Fair enough, he said. I grabbed my jacket off the back of my chair. First lesson starts Monday. Don't be late. As I walked toward the elevator, he called after me. Hey, one more thing. I turned. Thanks, he said simply. For everything you did. I should have said that a long time ago. I gave him a small nod. See you Monday, Tyler. The weekend passed quickly, and I tried not to think too much about the awkwardness that Monday would bring. Instead, I focused on binge-watching the new season of Yellowstone and taking my dog, Chewy, to the dog park. By Sunday night, though, the reality of becoming Tyler's supervisor was setting in. Would he resent me? Would he try to undermine me? Or worse, would he try to kiss up to me now? None of those options sounded great. Monday morning arrived with that typical start-of-the-week energy, everyone clutching their coffee cups like lifelines, swapping weekend stories, and procrastinating on opening their emails. I got to the office early to prepare for our team's weekly status meeting. Tyler was already there, sitting at his new desk in the junior associates area. He gave me a small wave when our eyes met. I nodded back, then headed to the conference room to set up. The meeting went smoother than expected. When it was Tyler's turn to give his update, he was prepared, concise, and most surprisingly, honest about where he was struggling with his reduced responsibilities. I'm still getting up to speed on the new workflow, he admitted to the room. But I've scheduled time with the other junior associates to get their insights, and I'm committed to delivering better results by next week. Carson seemed satisfied with that, and I caught myself feeling a little proud. Maybe Tyler really had learned something from all this. After the meeting, I stopped by his desk. Good job in there. He looked up, surprised. Thanks. I stayed up late prepping for it. It showed, I said. Hey, a few of us are grabbing lunch at Chipotle later if you want to join. A small olive branch, but an important one. Yeah, he said, smiling cautiously. I'd like that. Over the next few weeks, something interesting happened. Tyler started working harder than I'd ever seen him work before. He was the first one in the office most mornings and frequently asked thoughtful questions during our one-on-one meetings. He volunteered for additional training and even stayed late to help another junior associate who was struggling with Excel formulas, and he started giving credit where it was due. When Carson complimented him on a particularly thorough analysis, Tyler immediately mentioned that he'd used a template I'd shared with the team, and that Priya from accounting had helped him understand some of the financial implications. It was like watching someone grow up and fast forward. 1 month into our new arrangement, we were working late on a proposal for a potential new client. The office was nearly empty, just us and the cleaning crew. We'd ordered pizza and were sprawled out in the small conference room, surrounded by spreadsheets and empty Diet Coke cans. Can I ask you something? Tyler said, breaking the comfortable silence. Shoot, I replied, not looking up from my laptop. How'd you get so good at all this? Like, you never seem stressed, even when Carson throws last-minute requests at you. I laughed. Are you kidding? I'm stressed all the time. I'm just better at hiding it now. But seriously, though, you make it look easy. I thought about it for, a moment. I've been where you are, you know, made all the same mistakes. No way. Yep, my first year here, I was a disaster. Missed deadlines, sloppy reports, the works. He looked skeptical. So what changed? I had a mentor, Diane, who was the team lead before me, and unlike you, I said pointedly, when she offered help, I took it gratefully. I learned everything I could from her. Tyler winced. Okay, I deserve that. The thing is, I continued, people generally want to help each other succeed, but nobody wants to help someone who's going to turn around and act like they did it all on their own. He nodded slowly. I get that now. For real. Good, I said, turning back to my laptop. Then maybe there's hope for you yet. Update. Guys, I never expected this situation to actually improve our relationship, but here we are. Over the last month, Tyler's been putting in serious work and showing real humility. Today at lunch, he straight up admitted to our coworkers that he wouldn't even be at the company without my help. Talk about growth. But now I'm facing a dilemma. There's an opening in our department at his old level. Should I recommend him for it so soon, or would that be enabling him again? I want to be supportive without being a pushover. What would you do? 3 months after the incident, as we'd taken to calling it, I was called into Carson's office. As I settled into the chair across from his desk, I noticed a familiar file in front of him, performance evaluations. So, Carson began, leaning forward on his elbows. I wanted to talk to you about Tyler. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. What about him? His performance has been surprising. Carson flipped open the file. In a good way. His quality metrics are up. He's meeting all his deadlines, and Priya tells me he's been an enormous help with onboarding the new hires. That's great to hear, I said carefully. It is, especially considering where we were a few months ago. Carson studied me for a moment. You two are related, right? Cousins? Yes, but he held up a hand. This isn't about favoritism. If anything, you've been harder on him than the other junior associates. That was true. I'd been careful about that. The reason I'm bringing this up, Carson continued, is that we're considering moving him back to associate level, not his previous position that's been filled, but something comparable. He paused. As his supervisor, I wanted to get your honest assessment. Is he ready? I thought about it carefully. The easy answer would be yes. Tyler had been working his butt off, and objectively, his performance merited the promotion. But I also knew how easily people could slip back into old habits once they got what they wanted. I think he could handle the work, I said slowly. But I'd recommend waiting another month or two. Carson raised an eyebrow. Any particular reason? I want to make sure the changes he's made stick, that this isn't just him trying to get back to where he was as quickly as possible. Carson nodded thoughtfully. Fair point. We'll revisit in 6 weeks then. He closed the file. And for what it's worth, I think you've handled this whole situation remarkably well. Thank you, sir. Not many people could manage a family member effectively, especially after... He trailed off, but we both knew what he meant. I shrugged. Family's complicated. That it is, he agreed. That it is. When I got back to my desk, Tyler was waiting with 2 cups of coffee from the fancy place down the street that I loved but rarely splurged on. Peace offering, he said, sliding one toward me. I heard you got called into Carson's office and thought you might need it. I accepted the coffee with a smile. Thanks. So, am I fired? He asked, only half joking. Not even close, I replied, taking a sip. But that's all I'm going to say about it. He nodded, accepting the boundary. Fair enough. Oh, by the way, I fixed that issue with the Henderson account. Turns out it was a formatting problem in the original dataset. Nice work, I said, genuinely impressed. 6 months ago, he would have given up and asked for help at the first sign of trouble. As he headed back to his desk, I realized something had fundamentally shifted between us. The resentment I'd felt at the party seemed like ancient history. Now, in its place was something unexpected. Respect. Mutual respect. That evening, my mom called during my commute home. As usual, family gossip was her primary agenda. So, how's it going with Tyler? She asked, after updating me on Aunt Lisa's knee surgery and Uncle Rob's new boat. Actually, pretty good, I admitted, merging onto the highway. He's really stepped up. I'm glad to hear that, she said. Your aunt was worried things would be awkward between you two after, well, you know, I laughed. Oh, it was definitely awkward at first. But we worked through it. That's what family does, she said matter-of-factly. Yeah, but there's a difference between supporting family and enabling them, I pointed out. Tyler needed to learn that the hard way. My mom mused. Sounds like you both learned something. I thought about that for a moment. I guess we did. 2 weeks later, Carson approved a small but challenging client project for Tyler to lead. It wasn't normally something a junior associate would handle, but it was a perfect test case for his readiness to move up. I maintained my distance, making it clear that while I was available if he had questions, this was his project to sink or swim with. To my relief, he didn't seem to expect any special treatment. The day before the client presentation, Tyler asked if I could review his slides. It was a reasonable request, one that any junior associate might make of their supervisor, so I agreed. We sat in a small meeting room as he walked me through his presentation. It was solid work, thorough, and well-researched. I made a few minor suggestions, but overall, I was impressed. This looks good, I told him when he finished. You've covered all the bases, he beamed at the praise. Thanks, I've been putting in extra hours on this one. It shows. As we were gathering our things to leave, Tyler paused. Hey, can I ask you something? Sure. That day, at the party, if I hadn't said what I said, would you still have reported my mistake to Carson? It was a fair question, and one I'd thought about myself. Honestly, probably not, I admitted. I'd likely have just fixed it and told you about it privately, like I'd been doing. He nodded slowly. So I really did bring it all on myself. Pretty much. You know what's crazy? He said, shaking his head. If I had just acknowledged your help from the beginning, I'd probably still have my old job. But then I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn, which was what? That success isn't just about what you can do on your own. It's also about building relationships, giving credit where it's due, and being honest about your limitations. He grinned. Basically all the stuff you tried to tell me that I was too stubborn to hear. I couldn't help but smile back. Better late than never, I guess. The next day, Tyler nailed his presentation. The client was visibly impressed, and Carson gave him an approving nod as he wrapped up. Later that afternoon, I overheard Tyler telling one of the other associates about it. It went really well, he was saying, but I couldn't have done it without some key advice from my cousin here. She helped me refine the approach. Our eyes met across the room, and I gave him a small thumbs up. Progress. 6 weeks after my meeting with Carson, just as promised, Tyler's promotion was officially announced. He was moving back to associate level with a small raise and expanded responsibilities. The team took him out for drinks to celebrate, and everyone seemed genuinely happy for him, a testament to how far he'd come in repairing his professional relationships. As we clinked glasses at the bar, Tyler leaned over to me. "I know you probably had to sign off on this promotion," he said quietly. "So thank you for giving me another chance." "You earned it," I replied honestly. "No connections necessary." He laughed at that. "Well, maybe a few connections, but I like to think I've learned how to value them properly now." "To connections," I said, raising my glass. "And to family," he added. We tapped our glasses together, both smiling. Later that night, as we were heading out, Tyler stopped me at the door. "You know, I've been thinking about what you did, reporting my mistake instead of fixing it." "Oh?" I said, suddenly wary. "It was one of the best things anyone's ever done for me," he said sincerely. "Seriously, it sucked at the time, but it forced me to grow up and take responsibility for my work in a way nothing else would have. I hadn't expected that." "Well, you're welcome, I guess," he laughed. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "If I ever start acting like that jackass at the party again, you'll call me out immediately. Don't wait for me to dig my own grave." I grinned. "Oh, trust me, I won't." Update, final update, fam. 6 months later, and Tyler's still crushing it at work. Yesterday, he landed a major client that everyone said was impossible to get. At the celebration dinner, he publicly thanked me for the tough love that changed everything. Carson pulled me aside later and hinted at a promotion for Emmy in the works. Turns out, helping others succeed, even when they don't appreciate it, initially, can lead to unexpected rewards. Has anyone else found that teaching someone a hard lesson actually brought you closer? This whole experience taught me that sometimes the best way to help someone isn't to catch them when they fall, but to let them pick themselves back up. The following spring, our company held its annual awards ceremony. It was a big deal. Rented ballroom, open bar, everyone dressed to the nines. Awards were given for various achievements: biggest sale, most innovative solution, best team player, and so on. I was nursing a gin and tonic at our table when they announced the final award of the night, most improved performance. As they called Tyler's name, our whole table erupted in cheers. He looked genuinely shocked as he made his way to the stage. After accepting the small crystal trophy, Tyler stepped up to the microphone. "Wow, I wasn't expecting this," he said, running a hand through his hair. "Thank you. This means a lot." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "A year ago, I was kind of a mess professionally. I thought I knew everything, and I wasn't willing to admit when I needed help. It took a pretty humbling experience to make me realize what a mistake that was." His eyes found mine in the crowd. "I want to thank my cousin and supervisor for having the courage to let me fail when that was exactly what I needed. For showing me that real success comes from collaboration, humility, and hard work, not from pretending you've got it all figured out." There were nods around the room. Everyone loves a good redemption story. "So here's what I've learned," Tyler continued. "Accept help graciously, give credit generously, and remember that none of us succeeds entirely on our own." He raised his trophy. "Thank you all for giving me a second chance to get it right." The applause was warm as he returned to our table. As he sat down next to me, I bumped his shoulder with mine. "Nice speech," I said. "Very inspirational." He rolled his eyes good-naturedly. "Yeah, well, I figured I owed you a public acknowledgement after the way I acted." "Seriously, though," I said, "I'm proud of you." "Thanks." He smiled. "Couldn't have done it without you." And this time, we both knew he meant it. Later that night, as the party was winding down, Carson found me by the dessert table. "Quite the turnaround with your cousin," he remarked, helping himself to a brownie. "It really is," I agreed. "You know, we have a senior manager position opening up next quarter. I think you should apply." I nearly choked on my chocolate-covered strawberry. "Really? Really," he confirmed. "The way you handled this situation with Tyler showed exceptional leadership skills. You made a tough call that ultimately benefited both him and the company. That's exactly the kind of judgment we need in senior management." I was speechless for a moment. "I'll definitely apply. Thank you." "Good," he said. "And when you write your application, make sure to include this whole experience as a case study in effective management. It's a compelling story." As Carson walked away, I couldn't help but smile. What had started as a moment of hurt pride and petty revenge had turned into something entirely unexpected, a valuable lesson for Tyler, a stronger relationship between us, and now potentially a major career advancement for me. Sometimes the best way to help someone isn't to shield them from consequences, but to let them face them head-on. And sometimes when you think you're teaching someone else a lesson, you end up learning one yourself. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Tyler. "Hey, congrats again on Carson recommending you for the senior manager position. You, 100%, deserve it. And if anyone asks, I'll make sure to tell them you got it because of your skills and connections." I laughed out loud. Message received loud and clear.